Hello, everyone. Welcome to PEP GP Australia, where we help GPs navigate the PEP specialist pathway. Finding a GP job in Australia is one of the most important steps in your PEP pathway journey. For many IMGs, getting through the exams and the pathway requirements, it takes months or even years of preparation. But once you reach the job search stage, many doctors they underestimate how important this decision is. So, your first GP job in Australia is not just about getting a contract and starting work, but it directly affects your income, your career, and your quality of life. In this video, I will walk you through a step by step approach to finding the right GP job through the PEP pathway. I'll explain where to look for a job, what things to consider, what questions to ask, and how to avoid the common mistakes. So, if you are a GP planning to move to Australia through the PEP pathway, this video will definitely help you choose the right job. So, let's get started. So, one of the biggest mistakes I see among international GPs is that they spend years passing exams to reach this stage, but they take only a few days to decide where they will work for the next 2 or 3 years. So, think about it. Your first GP practice will be the place where you complete your supervised training period and you develop clinical skills relevant to the Australian GP practice. So, choosing the wrong clinic can make your transition much harder. If you have poor supervision, limited support, or the location is unsuitable for you and your family, it can cause unnecessary stress. But if you choose the right clinic, it can speed up your progress and make your transition to Australia much easier. So, what actually makes a good job for you? Many GPs they immediately focus on one thing, which is income. Of course, income is important. However, during the PEP pathway, the highest paying job is not always the best job. Because a good GP position, it should provide several important things. First, it should provide a good supervision. You need a supervisor who is approachable, available, and genuinely interested in helping you during your training. Second, you need a fair income percentage that reflects your workload and your experience. And third, the workload at your practice should be reasonable because starting GP practice in Australia, it is a learning process. So, an overwhelming patient load can negatively affect your confidence and your performance. So you should also consider these things as well as also consider work life balance and a location that suits your lifestyle and your family needs. So before you start applying for jobs, the first step is understanding what you actually want. Many GPs they make the mistake of applying for every available position without considering whether the location and workplace are suitable for them or not. So start by defining your priorities. For example, which state or region would you prefer to settle? And also remember that for the RACGP PEP specialist pathway, your practice location must fall within the eligible Triple M classifications, which are Triple M2 to Triple M7. These are basically regional or rural areas because you can't work in metro cities for 6 to 10 years. Also consider the climate, lifestyle, schools for your children, access to amenities, and the overall community environment. Think about your long term career goals. Do you want to eventually settle in a regional area? Do you want easy access to a major city? Or are you interested in building a large patient base in a rural area? So, not every location and not every practice will provide those things. The next step is to understand that not all GP clinics in Australia operate the same way. Before accepting a job offer, you need to understand the type of practice you are joining. Some important differences include the billing models, such as mixed billing, bulk billing, and private billing. There are also differences between corporate clinics and independent practices. Understanding these models will help you compare different job opportunities because two jobs with similar salaries can actually provide very different clinical experience. So let's quickly look at the main billing models. First is mixed billing. In a mixed billing practice, some patients are bulk billed while others they pay a consultation fee depending on different factors such as age, their concession status, or the type of consultation they had. This model can provide a balance between patient accessibility and earning potential. Next is bulk billing. In a bulk billing clinic, the practice bills the Medicare directly, which means eligible patients they do not pay anything for the consultation. Last one is private billing. Here patients pay the full consultation fee and then claim a Medicare rebate, which leaves them with an out-of-pocket expense. To make this easier to understand, in bulk billing clinics, patients don't pay anything. The government pays your fee. In mixed billing, some consultations are free for the patient and sometimes they have to pay, for example, if they undergo certain procedures. In private billing, the patient has to pay the whole fee and they can claim some of it back from the government. So each model has its advantages and disadvantages. For example, in bulk billing, it's relatively easier to build a patient base quickly because the patient flow is usually good since the patients don't have to pay at these clinics, but the consultations are usually shorter in length due to heavy patient load. On the other hand, if you look at private billing clinics, it is harder for a new GP to build a patient base because patients don't trust you that easily. They expect the highest standard of care because they're paying for the consultation out of their pockets. But once you have an established patient base, you earn more per patient due to higher fees. Another important difference to check is whether the practice is corporate owned or independently owned. Corporate practices are owned and managed by healthcare companies, for example, For Health, Family Doctor, Better Medical. These are some of the famous corporate groups in Australia. They often have multiple locations, standardized systems, and centralized administrative support. On the other hand, independent practices are usually owned by individual GPs or small group of doctors. These practices offer more flexibility and a more personalized workplace culture. But neither model is automatically better. Corporate clinics they usually offer you a fixed standard contract, so you don't have much room for negotiation. But independent practices they offer you the opportunity to negotiate the contract terms, so you may get a higher percentage or more perks if the clinic agrees. For GPs starting on the PEP pathway, an ideal practice is usually one that provides you the maximum support until you get your fellowship. A bulk or mixed billing practice can often provide a good balance between patient access and earning potential. An independent practice offers more flexibility and personalized support. Most importantly, you need an experienced GP supervisor on site who is available and committed to help you, especially during your initial period. Beyond billing models and ownership structure, there are other factors that can make a huge difference. An established patient base and good patient flow is crucial to get a steady income from the beginning. If the clinic doesn't have patients, the rest of the perks they're offering don't matter much because if you have no patients, you get no income. Remember, you work as a contractor in Australia, not as an employee, so you don't get a fixed salary. You only get paid if you see patients. So make sure the clinic is busy before you sign the agreement. You can check it by visiting the clinic's website and looking at the bookings of their current GPs. A strong clinical support is also important. The clinic should have good nursing staff and efficient practice systems. because they can significantly improve your daily experience. You should also look at patient reviews online. Google reviews can provide useful insights into patient satisfaction and the overall experience at the clinic. Remember, your first GP job should not only be about earning money, it should be about building a strong foundation for your future career in Australia. Now, let's talk about where you can actually find the job opportunities. There are several different sources. You can use recruitment agencies, job portals, GP Facebook groups, direct applications to clinics, and professional networking. But don't rely on only one source. Use multiple sources for job hunting. Some excellent jobs are not publicly advertised. They are filled through recommendations, recruiters, or direct contact with practices. So, why should you use multiple job sources? Because each job source has its advantages. Recruitment agencies can be very useful because they often have access to clinics who are actively looking for international GPs. They also assist with negotiations and communication between you and the practice. You can also use job portals such as Seek, Indeed, LinkedIn, and Jora. They allow you to explore publicly available positions and compare different opportunities. Remember that online advertisements only represent a small portion of the available jobs. GP Facebook groups can also be valuable. They allow you to connect with other GPs and learn from their experiences. Sometimes you can find opportunities through networking with other GPs and practice managers on Facebook groups. You can also reach out to clinics by emailing the practice managers directly, and you can ask them about the available opportunities. A practice may not have advertised a vacancy, but they may still be interested in a suitable GP. Finally, the professional networking is extremely important as well. Building relationships with other GPs, recruiters, and practice managers can open doors to opportunities, and these opportunities are sometimes not available online. So, you can do this via LinkedIn. You can send connection requests to practice managers or recruiters and try to connect with as many professionals as you can. Also, remember that your CV is your first impression. So, your CV should clearly highlight your clinical experience, your procedural skills, qualifications, certifications, CPD activities, research experience, and references. Your CV should clearly demonstrate your readiness to transition into the Australian general practice. So, a well prepared CV it can significantly improve your chances of securing interviews. When you receive a job offer, remember that the interview is not only for the practice to assess you, it is also your opportunity to assess the practice as well. So, ask questions about patient volume, billing model, percentage of billings, initial income guarantee, relocation or accommodation support, supervision arrangements, nursing support, and expected working hours. A good decision it comes from asking the right questions before you sign the contract. So make sure you ask these questions. Also, while searching for jobs, it is very important to recognize the warning signs or red flags. Be cautious if a practice creates unrealistic expectations early on, or they pressure you to sign the contract quickly, or they make verbal promises but refuse to include them in writing. Walk away if you see unclear supervision arrangements, poor communication, vague contract terms, or unrealistic workload expectations. You can use a simple rule. If something is important for you, make sure you get it written in the contract. And never rely on verbal promises alone. Many international GPs they hesitate to negotiate because they feel that they should simply accept whatever offer they have received from the clinic. But remember that negotiation is a normal part of the hiring process in Australia, so always negotiate. Common areas you can discuss are income guarantee during your initial months, your percentage of billings, relocation assistance, temporary accommodation, vehicle support, especially in regional or rural areas, because public transport is not very good in these areas, and reasonable exit arrangements if the position does not work out for you. The goal is to not demand unrealistic terms, but to create a fair agreement that works for both you and the practice. Before signing any contract, carefully review the whole agreement. Pay particular attention to billing arrangements, working hours, notice period, termination clauses, restraint of trade conditions, leave entitlements, and supervision requirements. You can avoid many problems by understanding the contract before you commit. So, you should never sign an agreement that you do not fully understand. Okay, remember this one important point. The best GP job is not always the one who are offering the highest income. There are other important things that heavily affect your job experience, including a supportive supervisor, a positive workplace culture, and a location where you and your family can enjoy living. So make sure you keep all these in mind before you make your decision. So here are my final thoughts. As you know, finding a GP job through the PEP pathway is not simply about securing employment. It's about choosing the environment where you will develop your skills and complete your pathway requirements. So take your time, ask the right questions, compare your options carefully, and choose a position that supports your long term goals. So finding a GP job may seem straightforward, but finding the right job it requires careful planning. At PEP GP Australia, we help international GPs throughout their journey on the PEP pathway. We provide personalized guidance and coaching with your job search, contract review, and we also help you identify the potential red flags. We can help you negotiate good contract terms and navigate the steps until you start working in Australia. We are a team of GPs who have successfully completed the PEP specialist pathway and we're now practicing in Australia. So everything we share it comes from real experience. Our aim is to help you make informed decisions and find opportunities that align with your professional goals. So, if you want personalized guidance during your job search, feel free to reach out to us. You can send us an email or contact us through WhatsApp. We can definitely help you find the right opportunity to build a successful career in Australia. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all the best on your PEP pathway journey. And I hope you found this video useful. I'll see you in the next video.